Hello, and welcome back to my GTNH playthrough. It is Friday the 13th, and we are back here over by my space elevator. So where we left off yesterday, I had this guy set up with a Mark 8 drone. Basically, what I went for today was to upgrade it to the Mark 9. I think it's an upgrade. It uses more power, so I assume it's an upgrade, as well as everything involved with that. So the other thing I also wanted to do, I realized yesterday after I went through all the how I got to the space elevator, I didn't talk about how it actually works. So what I've seemingly figured out is not why this says has problems. Still no idea on this front, but over here on the space mining modules, you basically need, and I'm still not clear if I need the second input bus, so take this one with a grain of salt, but you basically put the module here. I'm thinking the input bus with a drone here. I think it also works in the controller, but I swear somewhere it says it needs to be in a separate bus. But the output, I put the output bus up here, input for items, in this case, Naquata alloy rods and drill tips, and then an input for some plasma. And the very last thing is input for the optical receptors, basically the computation needed to run it. So for what I originally did yesterday was I had this on the Mark 8, so this was Naquata instead of Naquata alloy, and I also had helium coming in here. But when you look at like the mining module, if you look at the highlight, doesn't use energy hatch, receives energy from the space elevator, requires plasma to operate, helium, bismuth. Basically each one of these 5 represent like the Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, so on reactors. So for where we're at currently, the Mark 3 radon's the best we could do. Higher tier plasmas increase the chances of mining bigger asteroids, improves mining operation time. Needs to be fed with computation to work, yada yada. So I set up radon plasma. Now the actual radon plasma is pretty straightforward. It's just fluorine and molten, I don't remember, molten something I had a lot of one way or the other. Iridium. So I do gotta make sure I'm got my iridium back on the path. So I had turned it off because I'm at 1.5 million, and this was before while I was still worried about energy. But I might turn it back on because now I'm not worried about energy anymore. So got that in there. However, the thing for that was I didn't have a fluorine and chlorine, hydrogen, 3 things that have been kind of a pain in the butt for a while now in terms of how I'm getting them passively. For example, hydrogen and oxygen, I have something like 16 groups of 4 electrolyzers out in the desert. I might even have more than that. And then fluorine, I'm basically anything that can be electrolyzed into fluorine, I'm doing that. However, was not able to keep up, and same for chlorine, and that's because a lot of the processes use a lot of hydrofluoric, hydrochloric. Hydrofluoric is extra important because we use that as the first step to make, if I type this in here, I should be able to find it, make, this stuff, nope, not that one, fluoroethanamonic acid, which then goes into 2 things. It goes into our Naquata line, as well as it goes into our Naquata fuel processes. So we use quite a bit of it, which in turn, this uses a ton of hydrofluoric, which obviously uses a ton of fluorine, and also hydrogen. You might be able to tell 8.7 Gs of fluorine. We are golden on that now. 0 issues, no problems, all that stuff. And the reason for that is because of the infinity pump, which I have one sitting in here. Basically the bulk of what I did today was craft this guy and then ultimately fly around to 2 different places. I went for fluorine. We look it up. And then from fluorine to Pluto, and then chlorine is not quite as apparent because if we apparently there's a lot of stuff with chlorine. Chlorine, if we look at it, it doesn't have a space elevator recipe. But when I was looking through here, trying to figure out how I wanted to best approach it, because I want to make tons of it, just piles of it, not have it ever be an issue again, I went with salt water. Sorry if that came through the thing. I got my phone started ringing. Let me turn that off for a moment. Okay. So yeah, I figured I saw this recipe and it caught my eye. MV 30 seconds, a bucket of chlorine, program chemical plant. So this is what I went with, because salt water we can also get from pumping a planet. In this case, because of the way the infinity pump seems to work, or at least the way the controller tip says, maybe it doesn't say here. It might say it on the wiki, but basically the more that's still left in the chunk, like this will pump fluid forever, but whatever's like, if you like go to a more dense fluid chunk, you'll get more per operating run. So for salt water, the densest one is Ross 128BA. So I did go and set that up there, and I would assume my salt water is probably out of control. Not as bad, because this is immediately going into, we drop down below. I just decided to put it down here because it kind of felt like in the spirit of the space elevator stuff. A chemical plant down here, which this guy is making me every 6 seconds, roughly. We'll say it averages out to 0.5 ml of chlorine hydrogen every 6 seconds. Also, sodium hydroxide will never be an issue again, because we probably already have too much of this stuff, if I had to guess. Yeah, 86 million. So yeah, did that. So that's cool. We're making a ton of this. And that was, like I said, that was the bulk of it. I really would have liked to, I've kind of recentered myself, and I've got myself a goal now, which I'm glad, because I was kind of meandering weird, and that is specifically to do the Infinity Infrastructure quest to unlock UEV, which I want this quest essentially to be easy. I don't want to just like barely scrape by. I want to be like, okay, I need 64 Infinity blocks, boom, got it. So that is the plan right now. Which is why I set this up with 3 space mining modules up here and wanted to go for the bigger meteors, etc. Now, there's some cleanup to do. As you can see, only 2 are running at the moment, and it kind of alternates. I did put on level maintainer the items we need, but basically what's holding me back is the Naquata alloy drill bits. We go through a ton of them per operation. So that's where I'm struggling. That's what's kind of like bottlenecking this whole process right now. If Infinity, I have a ton now. Okay, this is good. I will say, I don't know what was happening. Something was glitched out last night, so I've said it a few times, but I rarely actually leave the game running overnight. I normally just turn it off and once I go to bed. But sometimes if I want to get built up and I wanted to see how this would work, I left it running. But I swear my Infinity Catalyst was just disappearing. Because even though it has a place over here, basically that wireless connector I highlighted there for like a split second comes over, connects here, and then it gets distributed to where it's supposed to go among all these ore factories. And it's supposed to go to this one, but this one was not showing Infinity. And the only thing I ended up changing, because I was getting paranoid about it, and I'm pretty sure I was right, I dropped this little setup where I connected this one instead to that output, and then I was getting Infinity. And then I decided to go, okay, let me add an even more in-depth, safety net for all of this, where I put this guy at a super low priority to come in here. If something's not being sorted, it comes to here. Now, mind you, this is all because magnesium wasn't getting sorted. So when I pulled the 2 cells out to add magnesium, all this stuff got moved over here instead. So it's all back in there now. So it was only magnesium, and then there's not. The other thing is this essence berry and zinc. I don't really care if these get trapped here forever. So yeah, Now it does appear to be working. I really don't know what's happening. I don't know if maybe it wasn't outputting fast enough and everything was getting voided or what, but it does appear like if we search in here now and I type in infinity, yeah, we got 8,000. So yeah, this is getting plenty. I'm kind of tempted. I think if to put an extra input bus here that specifically grabs the infinity, so it's always like basically fast tracking it. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. For the weekend, I'm definitely going to fix the Nequata alloy drill thing so that these guys keep running, even though, again, this looks great. So for context, I finished setting this up at just shy of 3 p.m., like 2:59, like right on the dot. It is now only 4:30. I went from 70,000 infinity catalysts to what were we at? 700,000. So this even with the Nequata alloy being a bottleneck is definitely doing what it's supposed to. So we're getting plenty of that, getting plenty of the pouring. So we got a lot of stuff taken care of. It might even, I bet. It's funny. I don't actually have this. I think it's because I need to upgrade my compressor technically to make this infinity block. Let's see, if I try to craft 600 right now to make that, boom, we can do it. We could actually move on to UEV. That would have been a fun way to end the week. I think realistically what I want to do over the weekend, and we'll start next week in UEV, is fix the Nequata drill, also fix the atomic separation, which it's fine as it is, and maybe I don't need to fix it, but I would really like to have this on passive so I don't ever run into a situation where the level maintainer for some reason jams up and then suddenly my power drops by a catastrophic amount. So that would be on it, but I have a feeling I'm going to be lazy about this one for a while, but definitely can't be about the Nequata alloy drill bits. And then from there, I would also like to build a more dedicated and probably passive infinity ingot line, which won't be very complicated. It really doesn't take too much, honestly, to get there. Mainly, it'll be setting up some dedicated form presses, all that jazz. So stuff's getting dropped in there. And I don't know why I went to this recipe. That's not what we'd be using. Go to this. So basically have all this on passive, and yeah, so that way I'm not waiting on infinity and it's more realistic to move on. But yeah, I've been kind of rambling for a second here. That's what I'm going to work on for the weekend. I hope everybody has a good weekend. And if you have Valentine's Day plans, have fun, all that jazz. And we will see you Monday. Goodbye.